Folks, welcome back to the latest episode of Gaelic Lives, the podcast. And it's hard to believe we're previewing an All-Ireland semi-final. The fact that of all the podcasts we've had, there's 4 teams left, there's 2 games left, but we'll get stuck into it. And thankfully, I'm joined today on the line by Lee Keegan, one of the greatest footballers there's been. And he's now a pundit and he's chatting football every day of the week and loves it. So Lee, thanks a million for jumping on the podcast.
No, thanks a million, Michael. I really appreciate it. I would probably echo that sentiment. I can't believe it's the first week in July and we've only 2 weekends of inter-county football left. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's why, a quick roll back to last weekend. I think that's why I enjoyed, going to the quarterfinals so much, because there's a novel factor about it all, and I suppose the new rules and different things. But from your own point of view, and conscious of the fact that you seem to play everywhere for Mayo, how would you have enjoyed tackling the new rules, because it might have suited you?
Well, I played at club level, and I've reverted back to the halfback more so with our new manager. But one thing I do, and I would have appreciated probably the new rules, is the art of defending a bit more. I think one thing I used to love is the one-on-one competition. So, I used to take great pride in being able to, I suppose, look after my patch and the person that I was marking on it. And I got great satisfaction if I got the upper hand of that. And also if I got beaten, which I did many times, there's a great learning in that too. And I think with the way the game went, Michael, I think we lost the art of defending a little bit, because we're so reliant on numbers and helping us out. I suppose from a Mayo point of view, and it's probably why we may have never won, but it's why we went as close as anyone, is that we weren't afraid to go man-to-man with the best teams and the best attackers. So I would have loved that side of the game. And I think with the game at the moment, particularly the 3v3 up top, I think it's brought back that 1v1 competition. It's not a nice place for defenders. I'm not saying that, but it does bring back old school defending, one-on-one defending. And for me, that's what I probably would have missed the most. I used to love getting attacking, obviously. That was one of my primary things, but I used to get such a satisfaction off the one-on-one battles and getting the upper hand in that, particularly when I got trusted to mark some of the top guys in the game over the years. That gave me huge confidence from management and the players I play with. So I do miss that element. I played a club game last Saturday. I do not miss the element of having to run up and down, lad. I felt my age quite considerably on Sunday when I was working, but it's enjoyable. I do enjoy it. I think it's if you look at the games of the weekend as well, there's a great buzz about the matches in particular, because take the Meath game as an example. Who really was going to give me much of a chance against Galway? But with the confines of new rules, it gives everyone a chance with the 2-pointers. You have no control of games anymore, and that's what makes it really exciting. And that's what I love from a club perspective as well, is that there's always a chance to win a game, particularly with the 2-pointers in play. So, I am enjoying it. I would have enjoyed it, but I think my time is definitely past from an inter-county perspective. I won't be doing a Michael Murphy anytime soon. So
funny, that's what a joke to Rory Kavanagh here a few weeks ago, because he's managing Glen. I says, any chance of a comeback, and he said no. So you're saying the same. Tyrone versus Kerry, Lee. I think the crack at Croke Park was that they took 2 trial runs, and it was Tyrone versus Kerry all 3 times. So it was meant to be. Yeah. What a pairing.
Well, Tom O'Shea we haven't even told about the draw, and he goes, listen, I don't need to watch it because I know it's Tyrone. And the Ferry got a spot on. It was nearly written in the stars. I suppose they're going to redeem their old battles. And from a Kerry point of view, particularly, I think the 21 will still hurt them a little bit. The COVID year, it seemed like one of the biggest ambushes we would have seen in a long time, particularly that we didn't know where Tyrone were, what they were about. And they probably came from nowhere as well, Michael, to a certain extent. So, and that group went on to beat us in the All-Ireland final deservedly as well. So, but from a Kerry perspective, the one thing I would say is they were awesome on Sunday. It was probably one of the best performances we've seen. But I suppose a lot of that was put down to the questioning of where they are, and they seem to have a huge siege mentality. And it's going to be very hard to relive that kind of, that I suppose, the build up to that game. Can they do the same thing? What's their purpose now for this game? Do they look at old games and say we need to get redemption there? Because that Armagh game, it felt really personal for Kerry at the weekend. You could see the anger in Sean O'Shea's voice after, Jack O'Connor's anger with satisfaction from the performance and the victory. So it'll be really interesting from a Kerry perspective, because you know yourself, Michael, the hype after a performance like that, it goes through the roof. So, and I do love one thing about the Kerry people is that, they want the Kerry support, which came on Sunday, but they also question the Kerry mentality is like they don't give us a chance. So I do like that kind of, it's like a double-edged sword a little bit. So I think it's a great game. It's funny, I don't know where Tyrone are at still, Michael, if I'm being honest. I thought Dublin were very limp at the weekend. Like to score 16 points in the new game is pretty grim, you have to say. Their reluctance to shoot. And it's funny, Tyrone didn't really need to be in, I'd say, third gear, fourth gear, really, to beat them, I thought. The likes of McCurry was very quiet at the weekend. No Michael McKernan. Derek Canavan, who was quiet, but still kicked 3 points. So they have a lot of scope. But I look at their game plan, they are very basic in terms of how they set up and how they play. And they seem to have really set principles that they follow with Malachy. So I would probably say overall, Kerry in the position they are, if the weather's nice, they're a kicking team. I think they have a lot of armoury around that. And the way Clifford and Sean O'Shea played the weekend and the support cast, I would probably have them slight favourites going into this game. But you know yourself, that means nothing when it comes to a Tyrone Kerry game.
And like you touched on there, like Kerry had that 15-minute spell where not only did they not miss, they always seemed to have the ball. And then versus Tyrone, as much as I felt Tyrone never looked like losing, they weren't brilliant. Is that two different ways to go into it? Is that like, does that Tyrone better going in having not played well, or is that irrelevant?
It can be a good or bad thing, Michael. The one thing I'd say about Tyrone, they're very, very still Jekyll and Hyde a bit to me. Like they had a brilliant performance against Donegal in the group stage, a stinker against Mayo, and then they played Cavan, and they did what they had to do. Again, I wouldn't think they did anything outstanding at the weekend to suggest, what Tyrone are we going to get. So they are due a big performance, and the side of Kerry will definitely enhance that for me. The big thing for them is just, I think sometimes they play very safe, considering the talent they have up top. And maybe that's a fear thing of getting caught, particularly now against Kerry, who's, scored 32 points in championship is it's pretty good. Like, I put it this way, Dublin hit 16. You're double that score with Kerry at the weekend, like against All-Ireland champions. That can't be sniffed at. So for Tyrone, I just find it really hard to get a read on them, Michael, if I'm being honest. Like Malachy, he's doing a good job, don't get me wrong, but I still can't figure out the style of play. Like they do play quite safe. They have their set way of playing. They might need to expand that against Kerry, I think. Like you're in an All-Ireland semi-final. There's no point setting up to play safe and not to win. Like they really have to go after Kerry. And one area, like we said on, and everyone talks about midfield battle, but with Brian Kennedy and Confitz, like they are a brilliant duo in midfield. And that's one area, looking at the Kerry Armagh game, if they get that right against Kerry and keep enough ball away from them, they'll have a great chance. Because if they get enough ball into their inside line, they're as good as anybody out there. The problem for them is, you see Kerry, when they have their homework done and when they have that intensity and that bit of anger about them, you can see what they can do in a 50-minute spell. I think that was as good as nearly when Dublin beat us in 19 in that third quarter. Remember Con getting the 2 goals and they just blitzed us. I think the Kerry 50 minutes in the third quarter was as good as that. That's how good they were. I mean, 14 points in concession. I never seen a more devastating quarter of football in my life.
And then I suppose that's the difficult balance Tyrone have to find, because as you say, they might need to find something different, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, Shawnee and David had 19 points and they had maybe 4 or 5 men lead at 2 points each. So they had, like, Micheál Burns came on and gave them a completely different dimension. So Tyrone have a few fires to put out them, away from the big duo.
The one thing, Mike, I would say, I don't think Tyrone will be as naive as Armagh. I don't want to sound critical. When I say naive, Armagh have a set way of defending. They defend that zonal, inside the zonal arc. And there's a perfect clip if you watch the first half. I think it's Sean O'Shea's first 2-pointer. Tiernan Kelly goes half towards him and he runs back inside the arc, because that's the way they're coached. So they're nearly enticing Kerry to shoot. The problem is when you have a Kerry, who are probably the best kick passing team in the country, you let the likes of Sean O'Shea shoot or David Clifford. They had 6 2-pointers between them. You're not going to win games if you're not hot on their heels. And if they do score a 2-pointer, at least have some pressure on them to do it. Like Sean O'Shea in the first half, who was brilliant. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he got the freedom off the 2-pointers and his kicks in particular from that area. So, and I suppose we should have looked at the Dublin game against Armagh. Like they had 31 shots against Armagh in that game because they were looking for them to shoot outside there. They just didn't get away with it against Kerry at the weekend, because They're so good. And I don't think Tyrone will be that naive to do that. I think there'll be a tough press around that 2-point mark area. And listen, the only problem for Tyrone is when you're pushing that bit higher out, you're giving the likes of Clifford that bit more space. The Geeney's inside. Paul Geeney's going to come back probably the next day. So it's the risk reward. But I think Tyrone have good enough defenders to cope with that. And they also have that, the Kerry mentality as well. They know how to get in their face and under their skin. So I expect this to be a real tough battle around that area in particular. And I don't think Kerry will get the same freedom that they did against Armagh.
And on the midfield battle, Lee, like Niall Morgan was always able to pick out a man. Like he's able to use the right hand side of midfield very well. He picked out McGeary. He went short, whereas Armagh were just sort of boxed in and they couldn't go anywhere. Probably a wee bit like Sean Patton was on Saturday.
Yeah.
Does that leave Niall Morgan's role even more important this time because of the need to actually get their hands on the ball?
It's key to football at the moment. Whoever wins that midfield wins games. That's how critical it is. And I would say the one good thing for Tyrone is they probably have one of the best keepers in the country by a long way. So even if he has one or two mishaps, I still think they're very competitive in the middle with Brian Kendy and Con Fitzpatrick, particularly Kendy. Like there was a lot of pressure on Kendy going to that Dublin game. We all know how well Padder Coffey Byrne was playing up to that, and I thought he did a great job at the weekend. That dictated the result for me, really. So yeah, Niall Morgan in particular, but I felt sorry for Rafferty at the weekend, Michael, a little bit. You know that I thought he was hung out to dry a little bit. I don't think he was listen, he has to take some flack himself. He kicked a few over the sideline, and some of them didn't go where they should have, and that's fine. You can accept that, but the guys at the field, like you're talking about hunger in a breaking ball. It was Kerry dictating that battle all day. So I don't think Tyrone will allow that to happen. And as well, Niall Morgan is way too smart of a keeper. He recognised certain things that are happening in the game. And if he sees something that's not working well, he can be sure with that experience and that class Niall Morgan has, he will find the next kick out. He'll always find a way. And that's one thing I love about Niall Morgan is that he does find a way, because that's why he's seen as one of the best players, not only in goal, but he can play so well, I feel, as well. So I think you'll see Tyrone really mix that up against Kerry based on what they've seen from Armagh game at the weekend.
And when you're chatting about mixing it up, Lee, picture yourself in the middle of that Tyrone defence against Kerry, and Kerry have the heat on. Are you literally trying to get a break and play and saying, now, next couple of kickouts, just play it right down the middle, just go basic. And I've told the lads out here we're going to battle, because no better team for a battle than a break. We've saw it so many times.
The best thing in football is you get the ball as far away from your own goal as you can. And sometimes it might sound so simple, but it's the most effective way to sometimes just break that momentum or that groove that Kerry can find themselves in. And because they are very strong in midfield and they have good ball winners and they have guys that can compete in there, sometimes the most simplistic ball at long, it can be the best. And like, if you take the 21 final with Tyrone against us, do you remember the second goal? It was just a long kick it down to Con, a little flick on, and before you know it, McCurry has it in the back of the net. Route 1 football is sometimes, it might seem the easiest, but sometimes it's the most effective way. And I think Niall Morgan will see that. And as well, you're in Croke Park, Michael. You have space everywhere. You get that ball as far away as possible. You have some great ball winners. And again, sometimes it's a risk and reward, but the risk can outweigh the reward so much more, because you get one flick like Donegal do regularly, it's a goal chance or a 2-pointer, and it's open season. And what that does then later on is it makes Kerry think a bit more. Do they push high? Do they drop off? Do they give you the space next time? So if Tyrone get one or two of those long ones, then the Kendy or Con, it changes the Kerry mentality completely of how to push the kick out or how to approach the kick out.
And finally, in this game, Lee, is the occasion the factor? Because you would imagine the Kerry fans are going to have to travel again. Like David made the plea, let's get Bacchus here. You're hoping that's going to happen again. And then you've obviously got Tyrone, who, let's face it, their fans haven't really flocked out in their numbers. So does that maybe light a fire there somewhere, that this is, we're one step away from a final?
It does. But what I'd say in the route is any coincidence on the Saturday, Michael? It's probably from a fan base perspective. I'm not being smart saying that. They're obviously seeing the Meath Donegal travel and support more because the game's on a Sunday. That's the way I'd see it from that degree. So, it's huge. I suppose it's funny. It's the first time I've seen Kerry really have a rally behind their supporters to come and support them, because we all know Kerry wait till the bigger games. I mean, All-Ireland final is the time they want to be there. Tyrone are a funny one as well, though. I do agree, even in Healy Park, you never see them come in their droves, to support. Whatever that is, I don't know. Is it expectation? Is it they don't see it, they're going to be contenders. But like, they're one game away from an All-Ireland. There are 3 games away from doing a clean sweep, minor, 20s and senior. You know, that can't be sniffed at. And like, if you're a Tyrone player, you think you'd have huge support because what you could be potentially getting done. And this game against Kerry, I'm sure Tyrone people are delighted. It's probably the best game they could have got. It's a game they'll relish for sure. I have no doubt about that. But it does, like, it's funny, when I watched the Meath Goal game at the weekend, you could feed off the Meath crowd, the energy of them, the atmosphere they brought. And when you get a bit of momentum in a game, Michael, it's funny how a little percent like that from your crowd can give you an extra bit of buzz. So that will be interesting. And it's funny, I couldn't believe the amount of Kerry people that were there on Sunday. It was a shock to us to see that. So I expect them to probably travel to this game because it is Tyrone. I'm going to be totally honest. That's because this is one of their bigger games. Kerry fans, they know the history with Tyrone. They know it's been one of those games that they've really struggled to get over the line, particularly in semi-finals and finals. So I expect a huge Kerry support there on Saturday. I'm only sad about one thing, although. I can't believe the minor final isn't played with it.
You know, just the same 2 teams. It would be great.
Like, it's a special moment for minors. I know. Listen, the Tailteann Cup is on as well. I know on Saturday, and I totally understand that. But there should be wiggle room to play that on Sunday even or whatever. But to double up your minors, again, you're adding more support to the teams that are playing. And imagine the minors going into Croke Park with that support before a game. You know, I think it'll be so special in that group. You know, so it's unfortunate.
You can even make it a triple header: Tailteann Cup, minor game, senior final, whatever. You
know, and that I used to love that when we played All Ireland, having the minors in there before. You could see how special it was to them, like, you know. So I'm just sad that they don't get to experience that. But I think you're gonna have a big cry for this game because it's just one of those rivalries that still has that edge about it. And you know, Jack O'Connor, he's going to be playing on that now these 2 weeks. And that's his challenge, Michael, is Kerry have put themselves on such a pedestal now after that performance. Can the Kerry team come down quick enough from that and be ready for this Tyrone game? Because you know the way Tyrone work, they'll be sitting in the dark and they'll be planning, and they'll be ready for this game. Make no bones about it. So I think from a Kerry perspective, if they negate that expectation and energy that they have from Armagh and get back to basics, I do see Kerry just one of my favourites, but you can never rule out a Tyrone team that are underdogs and go into a game against Kerry of this magnitude.
Yeah, I think anybody is making predictions at the minute is a fool because it's an absolute nightmare.
I got one from 4 right at the weekend, so it's like predicting lottery numbers.
Same as that. I think we're in the wrong business. But I think, to be honest, I think it's great because it was, unfortunately from your point of view, you know too much about it. It was Dublin for so long and it was so predictable, whereas now it's just, it's brilliant.
Isn't it funny though, Mike, at the same time, we were saying, although the game is totally different and everything, it would be the most cliched All-Ireland if Kerry win it.
Mm-hmm.
Some things everything has changed bar one thing, but you just never know. That's the thing, I think with the new rules and everything, Michael, if you're not on it, it's so hard to get back into that zone. Teams are just too smart now and they're too ready with the new rules. And I think if you're not, take the goal game of the weekend, if you're 5, 10, 15% off it, it's hard to get back into that groove and get over the line. So it's so important to be present in the game with the rules the way they are now, because you get found out pretty quickly.
That's all for part 1. And part 2, we're going to come back and talk about Donegal and Meath, and we'll hear a word from our advertisers and sponsors, Hastings Hotel.
Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, Londonderry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, we'll make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.
Lee, we're back for part 2. It's Donegal, it's Meath. I make it that if it's going to be a 7th different finalist in 5 years out of this, and if one of these teams are to make it through and win it, it's a 5th new winner. So this is the novel side of things. And a lot of talk was about Donegal 3 weeks in a row. if you were in the Donegal camp, what would you do differently now that you have 2 weeks? Because it seems to be the most natural break, 2 weeks.
I'm just excited to hear Jim McGuinness saying he had too much of a break for this game. I think it'll do the no harm, Michael. I'm still not. I don't buy the whole, turnaround times. We all have to do it, every county. So, and particularly, I suppose, why Jim is probably more kind of upset is I think it's just the way they play. They play at such a high octane pace. It's a big running game. Like that was our game plan for years too, Michael, and it takes a lot out of you. So I can't say there should be any complaints around turnaround times. I did feel sorry for them with they got the shortest straw for last weekend. But for me, the 2 weeks for that group, I'd say it could be a dangerous thing for Meath. They'll be fresher. And as well, there was you could see a small bit of a hangover in that first half against Monaghan. I thought Monaghan were brilliant, don't get me wrong. But very uncharacteristic mistakes from Patton. Murphy had a couple of frees that went wide. They did look a bit leggy and tired in the first half. But whatever happened at halftime, I tell you, resprintability definitely came back into it because they came out and they really set the tone. They put manners on Monaghan. And listen, I think with the 2 week break now, they'll have brilliant time to assess, set up, plot, plan. And I think they're going to be so ready for this game in 2 weeks' time. And it's a new challenge for Donegal. They're playing a team in Meath that are really fearless. They're one of the teams that kick a lot of ball to their full forward line. And they're a team that will not back down. They have such belief within the squad because they're so young. I think the exuberance of youth sometimes is beautiful. You can see that with Meath. They don't think twice about it. They just go at it. So I think this game for Donegal is going to pose a lot of different questions compared to what they've had already this year. So, but I do think the 2 week break will suit them just perfectly.
Do you feel there's a bit of pressure on them now where they're supposedly maybe bigger favourites, whereas the other semi-finals maybe 50-50, or does that come into it? I suppose, Jim, and they've had to deal with different things, Lee, but is there a bit of pressure?
Listen, there's pressure because when Jim is over his side, there's always going to be pressure, and not only pressure, Michael, but massive expectation. Again, like I always say, similar to Galway, Donegal make no bones about it. They're going for the big prize. So when you speak that highly, you're putting pressure on yourself immediately. But you are right. I would think this game is definitely a little bit different for them because they are going to be big favourites. And that's the reality. But like we said, it's very hard to call, just the way the games are going. So, but I think as well, Michael, the one thing with Donegal, they are experienced. They were here last year. They didn't put in a performance last year. And they'll be aware of that. I think the fact that Murphy's there again, even adding that experience on its own, he knows the lay of the land. He knows that routine in terms of semi-finals. And no more than a quarter-final. It's just there for winning. There's no prize for it. The prize really is getting back to the big time. And I think for Donegal, I think with that experience Jim has last year, having Murphy there, and the likes of Ryan McHugh and these guys, they played these big games before. It's not new to these guys. So I think they'll be in a really good position. I think if they get their game plan right, and if their game plan is simplistic enough, it's run hard and fast for as long as they can. But I do think if that little bit of a kicking dimension to their game, I think they could open up Meath big time here. So listen, I think they're in a really good position because of what happened last year and how poor of a performance they put in compared to what they've done. So I think they're primed for a game like this, and they know the bigger picture too, Michael. They really do. They're a team. They're like a team on a crusade. They know what they want and they know how to get there. And I just think they'll find a way against Meath one way or another. But I do expect a huge performance compared to what they did against Galway last year.
And from the point of view, Conor O'Donnell is looking lively up front. Oisin Gallen is beginning to find a wee bit of form. Patrick McBrearty was a brilliant dimension. But that's loads of threats. But again, from your own point of view, from playing in that position, how do you deal with the likes of Murphy that sometimes he's a kick-out target, sometimes he's inside? Does it take a lot more concentration to play against a team like that?
It does. It really does. And I actually, I thought Mayo did a good job this year in Roscommon on them. I thought Donegal were quite limited at times. And that's the kind of thing you have to do. When we played Donegal in particular, we knew I suppose the importance of Michael Murphy. There's no getting away from it. That is key. But my biggest worry for a team at the moment is I think they're so focused on Murphy, Michael. Mm-hmm. The one guy that I've been raving about for the last couple of weeks is Shane O'Donnell. Mm-hmm. I think he is inaugural to what they do well. And the one thing I would have kind of questioned by Shane O'Donnell for a while is he probably doesn't back himself to shoot enough. But sure, he clipped 4 points at the weekend, and I think that might be the dial that he needs for himself. Michael Langan, again, another guy that he needs to be really respected because he is huge for them. So I think teams sometimes really don't respect enough of Donegal players. I think they focus too much on what Murphy can do. And he'll have a huge say in it. That's not what I'm saying. But they have such other armory that they need to worry about. Like Oisín Gallen is a guy that if he hits hot form and he can continue it, like there's no better forward in the game or accurate forward in the game. You know, they do have those dimensions in terms of their shooters and the quality they have. And you said Conor O'Donnell, like he's been brilliant this year. Another 4 points at the weekend. Padder Morgan from deep, Kieran Moore. And you know, Finbar Rorty, like he is as good as a footballer there is out there. Do you know, for a 19, 20-year-old, the size of him, the pace of him and the aggression, like I never seen a 19, 20-year-old look as comfortable at inter-county football. Like, so I think for Meath, it's not to get over-emphasise on Michael Murphy. They have a lot of other dangerous weapons they need to take care of. The one thing I would say, and I think Gala got really spooked by this, I think the aggression Meath really go at you. I think their backline are really, really aggressive. They're in your face. They do not make it easy. And I think Gala got a little bit spooked in that game, do you know it? Remember the Daniel Flaherty moment? He went down looking for the free. Potentially it could have been a free, but because he was kind of looking for it, he wasn't going to get it. So I don't think Donegal will mind that aggressive side, but Meath will bring aggression that will match them. It just, do Meath have enough to stop the Gallens, the O'Donnells, then the Murphy and Toffett, Langan, those type of guys that can score for fun? And like Donegal's percentage against Monaghan at the weekend, I mean, they're as accurate and as efficient as they got, and that's a dangerous thing for Meath. If they catch that early form and hit the points early, it could be a tough day.
And from a Meath point of view, like they conceded 4 goals in a Leinster final, and a Leinster final that, you know, they're sort of teed up to win. They took out the Dubs and all this here, but they lost. But they came back really well. Like they've learned from it. You know, they really have. Like I think they stopped Kerry from getting a goal that day, as far as I can remember. So that's not easy done. So they seem to have picked up something.
Yeah, but like I still think we don't give them enough respect nationally. Do you know? I think like as every game can't be a fluke, and it's no coincidence that they've beaten Dublin, they've beaten Kerry, and now they've beaten Gola. Like the 2 of them in the All-Ireland final last year and Dublin the All-Ireland the year before. You know, so they're doing something right. I think the Leinster final was just a real nervy roller coaster for them. I think the occasion got them a little bit, but the way they've regrouped, and I tell you what I was really impressed with against Galway was when Cormac came on, he absolutely destroyed them for the 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, hit 2-3. And I remember myself and Conor Glass saying, that's it, game over. Never once did Meath back then. They went on a 1-3 burst, and I was like, that's a sign of a really, really good team. And what I love about them as well, Michael, is that they talk so highly of Robbie Brennan and what he's brought to the team and that belief. And the thing I love about what Brennan's done with them, he's made Owen Frayne captain. He's 22 years old. Kieran Caulfield, the wing back, he's 21. He's vice captain. So they're not relying on older guys to be experienced and be leaders. He's given the trust to those young guys, and you can see the way they're playing. They're hungry. Their work ethic is next level. Like they won't get outworked by a team, that's for sure. But then they have a bit of class. They're one of the only teams that really try and get the ball into their full forward line. And why not? When you have someone like Jordan Morris,
he was unbelievable.
He's not your prototype full forward, is he? He's definitely a bit different. Do you know the way we all go about the Clifford bends? Have you seen the Jordan Morris bends?
Yeah.
He has a lovely little hop that gives him that kind of 2 yards of space. And then, like, you know, there's a couple of things I loved about him. He took a kind of a soccer-style shot in the second half. You know, like off the cuff, you know, a guy he looks like he's really enjoying his football. And considering that he did his PCL, I think, earlier in the year, to be back in that kind of form and that fitness, it's a testament to what they're doing. So, but, like, take for Donegal for now, like, he's one guy to worry about. Matthew Costello. Like he was 4 from 4 shots at the weekend. He was brilliant. Conor Gray that came on around the middle, I thought he dictated the second half. I thought he was excellent. Caulfield never stops running. He's an outlet for everything. And then you have Rafferty in full back and Coffey number 6. Like serious aggression. So they're going to give Donegal plenty of it. We're probably sick of saying it. Like, you know, like Donegal for me are favourites, and rightly so. But you could never rule out anything with this Meath team. I think the belief they have, they'll back themselves to the hill. There'll be no doubt about it. And what I love about this game is the crowd will be absolutely bananas in Sunday week. So I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a brilliant occasion. Donegal travel well. think you're going to get a different game to what Donegal have seen before, and it's going to be really enjoyable. But I still think when you lay it all on the line and you see what Jim has done with the group, just that experience and know-how, I think Donegal will probably have a little bit too much for them. But sure, what do we know at this stage?
Predictions are a waste of time.
If you're predicting not fully confident. You're kind of just going with what your hunch is. You can't say it for sure anymore.
And I think that's what makes it great. There's more debating, and just finally, like, because the season has ended up the way it has, even the teams that have been knocked out now, like, they're going away into winter believing that they can be back in the semi-final next year. Or, do you know what I mean? There's real hope for teams next year. Like, that's the way it's left it. I know this is a semi-final preview, but is that where the game is now?
Oh, 100%. Like you said it yourself. Like, how many All-Ireland winners in the last 5 years? Do you know?
Yeah.
And I think in the next 5 years, Michael, you could have multiple different winners, because that's the way the game allows us to do it. It's funny, from my own county perspective, I don't think we're a million miles away either. I just don't think we adapted to the new rules quick enough. And I think if we get that right, we could be close. Galway will be close again. I think the top teams now, it's not a top 4 or 5 anymore. I think there's a top 10 teams that actually fully believe they may have a chance of winning All-Ireland. Like, Armagh last year kind of came from nowhere under the old rules. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's funny, I was listening to Paddy Burns this morning off the ball. He said they only changed the rules because we won it. So, like, I do think football is really exciting from that point of view, because it's not your old cliche 2 or 3 teams or 4 teams every year that are going to be challenging, or like the Dublin era. I think you're going to have multiple teams that are going to go close over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And I think what I love the most is we're talking about football in a positive manner. Football has become a brilliant chatting point again, and it's not a negative chat. I think we've had so much that has been brilliant in this football championship that we're only just excited for the semi-final. And the sad thing is, it'll be over in 4 weeks. That's the only sad thing. We have to wait 6, 7, 8 months before we have county football again. So I think it's great, and just sad as well that we have to restructure next year, because I think this championship has shown us one thing, that it has been brilliant under the structure. A tweak here or there, but I just think recreating the full structure, I just don't think it's the time to do it, especially that we have our game in a really good space at the moment, and people are loving it and they're traveling to it, and we're getting the games to back it up and the quality, and that's what you want. And long may continue. It's great not to have the hurlers tell us that the football is still not good enough. It definitely is good enough. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, Lee, as you say, like, people would have said the group stages didn't have jeopardy, but that's where that 3 weeks in rule comes from. Like Jim did say, when they lost to Tyrone, they knew they were going the scenic route. So finishing top is definitely a goal, and it leaves the groups competitive, because teams, no matter what some fans will say who maybe aren't privy to the levels of preparation, finishing top's massive.
Oh, Michael, it's gold. And also, it's funny, I sat down this morning, I was thinking, the group of death,
they're all gone.
They're all gone. So that just shows you the competitiveness and how tough it is to go through a tough group, but then try and be ready for a knockout game, but finishing top, like, from a Tyrone point of view, it's been the best thing for them. It really has. Donegal not so much, but they're okay at the moment. But it's worth its gold. Really, it shows you the importance of it. Now, you could argue a little bit, like Donegal, Kerry both went through the scenic route, and people argue Kerry haven't played in many Division 1 teams either, but it doesn't matter. They're still building up confidence. So there is arguments for both sides, but I do think, for me anyway, when I was looking at Mayo, I thought it was imperative to try and finish top, and it didn't work out that way, unfortunately. But for the best route and the best opportunity to win Sam, I think finishing top is huge. It really is. Just giving you that kind of 2-week break to assess, to review injuries, whatever it is, it does give you way more scope than having to go through week on week, having a tweak here, an injury there. It is so hard to manage for S&C, for physios, for planning, whatever it is, logistically even as well. So but that's all gone, and it's probably not the best time to do it, unfortunately. It would have been great to have one more year of this system and see how that works, because I think teams are really getting a flavour with the new rules of it, and they're understanding the importance of how tough that route is, and to try and get that right next year would have been good crack. I think it would have been really good fun to see it again next year.
Lee, Keegan, thanks a million for your input and for jumping on this morning. More importantly, thanks for your time.
No worries,
and
thanks.
Maybe bump into you at Crook Park at the weekend, As I say, folks, if you listen back on Monday, we'll be back for a review show with reaction from the camps. And by that stage, we'll be down to 2 teams left fighting for Sam. We'll just have to wait to see.
Who's your predictions for the semi-final? I might as well ask you.
I'm going to go for Kerry and Donegal.
Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, Londonderry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, we'll make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.